Hello, plant buddies. I'm here today at Lost in the Forest in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and we're going to do a tour of the store. My favorite store here in the Minneapolis Metro area. I have had an exciting week. I did change the handle or username for my channel this week over to Planty _ buds. To match up with my Instagram name. It used to just be my actual name, so I thought it needed a more planty theme to it. I did also surpass 100 followers earlier this week on Thursday. And then just a little bit about Lost in the Forest. They're actually celebrating their 5th anniversary of existence this month. They've been right in this area in the west end of St. Louis Park for, I think, 4 years. They were in a little bit smaller space for a couple of years. And I think this month or last month was the anniversary of moving into their awesome big space that they're in now. They offer a lot of classes and events throughout the year. They usually have like a little event calendar on their website. For example, next weekend they're doing a Halloween costume contest. I actually won the costume contest last year by dressing up as a crispy prayer plant. And I used my gift card to purchase my Syngonium chia pence variegated. So just trying to remember if I got everything in that I wanted to mention here. They do ship anywhere in the United States. Their website inventory is pretty up to date. The website is Lost in the Forest Co. Forest with 2 R's, like the owner's name, Forest. And yeah, their inventory is always pretty up to date on there. Again, they ship for sure anywhere in the like the 48 connected United States. I know for sure. But yeah, let's head inside, see what we got. All right, so this is my first time doing a voiceover, so hopefully this goes well. Here we are just walking in from the parking ramp across the road. There is also a parking ramp under the store. For some reason I just like parking in the one across the street. The west end of St. Louis Park, Minnesota is a cute little area. There's lots of little shops and restaurants throughout this area here. And that is Lost in the Forest, of course, on the corner there. And we're gonna go across and go inside in a moment here. So yeah, this is my favorite store in Minnesota. Huge selection of plants, rare plants. They do a lot of little events throughout the year. I was just trying to kind of not catch those people in the filming here. And they have a little poster right here that has all the events for fall and winter up through January, I believe. And they'll probably add things to this as time goes on. For example, I know next weekend they're having a Halloween costume contest. So looking forward to that. But let's go inside. And so this is what you see when you first walk in. They have some little loungy areas here. I would assume that's in case you get tired while you're shopping for plants and need to take a little break. We've all been there, right? But yeah, it's a really cute store. Just gonna kind of start panning over things here. Got some orchids there. Gonna kind of pass through some philodendrons here. And again, I was kind of trying to avoid people to respect people's privacy, so some of the angles might get a little bit weird. That's a philodendron ring of fire, a nice big one. And then these are just kind of some seasonal items, usually on this little display right inside the door here. Some cute little pumpkins. I really like that planter with the lines in it. They always have some really nice hanging baskets on this side of the door here. A bunch of like pothos and vining philodendron types here. And nice large monstera deliciosa there. And then display of pots there. This is a philodendron lickety split is what they have it labeled as. And I think it's really a thaumatophyllum. Those, if you're familiar, were part of the philodendron family and then kind of separated. It's a whole thing, but then the first place I always go is the Aglaonema selection here. That one is Aglaonema Frosted Ghost. I do have one of those. It's got beautiful silvery leaves. And then this one is Aglaonema Green Bowl. And just over to the right here, those are going to be Aglaonema White Panama, and in back of those are the Aglaonema Sundrop. And then they recently got a big selection of red Aglaonemas here. There's like 3 different ones. I know the lighter colored ones in the center. I know that tray for sure is the Aglaonema Richard. I did buy one of those last weekend. And then some of them might have been a little bit mixed together here. I'm just about to pick one up, and I was assuming that these were all Geely red on this side. But the one on the edge that I picked up was actually another Aglaonema Richard. So there's some Aglaonema Red Valentine. Those were the ones on the left, I believe, as I started to kind of pan through. Yeah, there's Geely Red right there. They're all very similar. I really have to rely on the tags when it comes to red Aglaonemas, because there are so many different types, and again, all kind of similar. There's the Aglaonema Sundrop again, a close-up on that. On the next shelf up, we have Aglaonema Spathonema, and I did also purchase one of those last weekend at Lost in the Forest. These ones are Aglaonema Red Creta. I love their pink stems, and I definitely did purchase one of these while I was at Lost in the Forest yesterday filming this. They're very similar to the Aglaonema Red Siam, but I feel like they have a lot more of the gold or yellow coloration to the leaves. Nice big 6-inch lush pots of that, and they were only $19, so I couldn't resist getting one of those. There's some Adansonii hanging there, and then we're going to jump over into the pothos here. Nice big ZZ plant on the end there. And I will tell you, I'm going to try to kind of show the tags on these. This is just way too many plants to actually know all the names of these. I want to say that right side one there was, I think, Epipremnum pinnatum elbow, I think. These ones are the Manjula pothos or Epipremnum aureum. I think those are beautiful. Those are probably my favorite pothos. And then I think these ones are the global green right here. Hopefully I can make out the tag. I did notice doing this voiceover, it is really hard to make out the tags for a lot of these. So if you see something that you want to know what it is, I'd say probably just pause the video and zoom in. But yeah, it was global green. This is Pothos Enjoy. And then I think these are lemon meringue. And then the really bright colored ones here are a Japanese pothos. They are called Champs Ulysses World Series, I believe. These ones have some really interesting texture to the backs of the leaves. They get these little, like, growths, kind of. I don't know what else to call them, but they look really cool. I do have one of those. I got about a year ago, and they were a little bit more expensive still back then, but I got like tiny little pot of it. It might have been like a 2-inch pot for like $5 on sale. So you can see with these, they do get a little bit darker coloration. It's probably, that one maybe didn't get as much light. But you can kind of see some of the leaves are darker on down in there. And then I believe those were, let's see, I believe, okay, going a little bit too fast for myself here. I want to say those were lemon meringue pothos there. They don't have super bright variegation. They are looking a little bit more like the global green, but they could probably just use a little bit more light, and they would get more of the kind of yellow variegation. That is Marble Queen pothos. And then I think I'm going to show the label on these beautiful ones on the end here. Hopefully I'll be able to read it. Let's see if I can find it, that is. Let's see. Epipremnum pinnatum marble. Okay, that's what that is. Epipremnum pinnatum marble. You can see that one's already starting to get some fenestrations. And I just love those really light colored variegated leaves. This next one I do have to admit is not my favorite pothos. This is Pothos Shangri-La. And I always kind of just see these, and I think it gives me the vibe of like a plant where the leaves aren't opening properly, because they have those kind of folded up looking leaves. So in my opinion, they just kind of look like something might be wrong with them, but that's just how those grow. This one is Epipremnum Baltic Blue pothos. Very beautiful bluish, silverish leaves. And then these little guys here are the Epipremnum Cebu Blue pothos. Those kind of have a really beautiful bluish, silverish color to the leaves as well. And these next ones, I want to say those were more lemon meringue. I might show the tag here, but I'm pretty certain that's what those were. These ones have a little bit more of the yellow coloration to them. I am realizing as I'm doing this voiceover, I was trying to show the tags on the plants, and it's just really hard to make them out fast enough. These are Amplissimum, I believe, those pothos right there. Let's see. Oh, yes, yeah, there's the tag for that one. I like the silvery color on those ones, too. And then they have tons of pots and planters at Lost in the Forest. We'll be looking at a lot of those as we go through the shop here as well. I really like that section there because I do really like white planters. It kind of keeps the focus on the plants. And then the other side of the Aglaonema table here, we have all the red ones, and then this one is Aglaonema bamboo. Some people call that one rice. And then these are the Aglaonema pictum tricolor. I do confess I don't have one of those, at least yet. I've heard that they're a little harder to care for than a lot of the other Aglaonema varieties. A little bit more picky about water. Those I think are called red macaw. I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly. And then left and right here are Aglaonema jolie. The one in the middle, the really white one, is white snowdream. And then they had some really beautiful, lush Aglaonema green pepuma here. I do have one of those in my collection as well, which I bought at Lost in the Forest. And then I'm going to show these Dieffenbachia here. I think this one is Green Magic Green. I think I'm going to show the tag. I feel like Dieffenbachia are kind of similar looking to Aglaonema, but in my opinion, they're a little bit harder to care for. They like a lot of light, and they don't really like to dry out as much as Aglaonema do. And then this one I think is my favorite Diefenbachia. I think this was called Diefenbachia Leopard. And I just love all the little speckles everywhere on that one. And then that one on the right, I wish I would have zoomed in on the tag. I know it has the word snow in the name. And then we have just another little section of pots on this display here. More that I really like because they're kind of that white color scheme. And then we're going to get into some philodendron here. There might be a couple that I can't make out the tag here. I know this first one is philodendron rugosum. And I hear that pronounced a couple different ways. So I think that I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it has really unusual textured leaves, how they're kind of wrinkly like that. That one I'm not sure what it was. This is a philodendron red sun. I do have one of those, and I love the new emerging leaves on those. They're almost like blood red colored, like a really bright red. So very beautiful. This next one is, let's see if I can make out the label on it or not, 'cause I am not sure. Let's see here. Oh, focus. Yeah, I don't think I can quite make that out without zooming in. I obviously can't stop the video and zoom in while I'm doing the voiceover, so these ones are philodendron bilietiae. And that is actually the first plant I purchased from Lost in the Forest when I discovered them probably about 3 to 3.5 years ago now. These are very beautiful. They were a little bit more rare back in those days. Fortunately, those are becoming fairly common. Like I've even seen those in big box stores at this point in time now. So, but yeah, those are really beautiful. I love the leaf shape and the red edging on those. They also have kind of an orange petiole, which is kind of unique. So, going up to the next shelf, I don't know if I'm going to be able to read that. I want to say these are like jungle something or another, but it's another type of philodendron. Look at that large leaf. Just huge. And then I'm going to, oh, can we make that out? No. This is proving difficult. I really love the fresh red leaf up in the top on that one. And then I know these ones are the philodendron bernardopazii, I believe. Or no, Jerry Horn. Those are philodendron Jerry Horn. That's always one I've wanted, but I do not have. And then this one I wish I would have zoomed in on the tag. I thought I would remember it, but I feel like it has the word snow. Philodendron snowdrift, actually. Yeah, pretty sure that's what those are. I used to kind of want one of those, but they get extremely wide and would take up a lot of space in my collection. So, and then we have some really beautiful, lush philodendron golden crocodile here. Those we've started seeing in big box stores as well. The ones they have at Lost in the Forest here are extremely lush and large. I really like those. I like the color. And then we're gonna next pop over to the monsteras here, and I'm going to butcher the name on this first one probably. I think it's Monstera lechleriana variegated. That is my best attempt at pronouncing that name. I feel like I hear people say that in different ways in videos online, so I'll just go with that pronunciation, I guess. These are Monstera standleyana, the darker green. Some people also call that one Monstera cobra. I do have one of those in my collection. And then I love the texture on these ones. These are the Monstera Peru. I do also have one of those in my collection, which I purchased at Lost in the Forest, probably a couple years back at this point, maybe a year and a half ago. But yeah, I just love the texture on those leaves. Then we have some nice large philodendron, or excuse me, Monstera deliciosa there. Across the table are the Deliciosa Thai constellation with the variegation there. Those are some beautiful ones. And then again across the table, they also have little signs in all the different sections with some kind of plant care tips and that sort of thing. So that was the Monstera sign for that area. These next ones there are Monstera Adansonii, I believe the wide form of that. I have the narrow form of the Adansonii in my collection, but not the wide form. And then I had to pop across the aisle here as soon as I saw this Aglaonema, because those are my favorite genus. This is a nice large Aglaonema Silver Bay. Makes a nice floor plant when they get that big. And then I believe those were some Rhaphidophora on this shelf, the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. We'll see some variegated versions of those later on in the video. And then on the tops of a lot of these displays, they'll have all their different soils. There's their Lost in the Forest chunky mix soil on the top of that one. And then we'll kind of catch this little section of pots here, planters. I'm about to pick one up that I really want. I love that planter. It is my white color scheme, and I like the texture of it. I have not purchased it yet. I think that one's like $40, but it's on my wish list. I would like to have that one at some point in time. And it's the size that a lot of my plants are getting to be. It can fit like a 6 or 7 inch in that one nursery pot. So that would be perfect for me. And I also have always liked these ones on the top here that are white speckled with kind of the red edges on the top and bottom. So that might be another future addition to my pottery collection for my plants. We're going to hop into the anthuriums here. This first one is absolutely gorgeous. This is a variegated Anthurium hookerii. And that plant really gives me like Aglaonema vibes or variegated philodendron vibes. Just the style of the variegation and the way that it has the pink midrib on the leaves. So I think that one is absolutely gorgeous. And then when we get into these velvety anthuriums, I'm going to confess I don't know a lot about them. I feel like for me they would be challenging to care for. I know they don't like to dry out and they like a lot of humidity. And I want to see if I can make out this tag. Or not quite. I think a lot of these may have been like hybrid ones. But yeah, they have very beautiful velvety leaves and that very defined veining. I just don't think I'd be fantastic at like keeping them looking nice and or alive. So that newer leaf where they come out red is just beautiful on that one. I cannot pronounce that name, but I think that one is a PAP hybrid. I hear a lot of people call it PAP. It's like a long name that starts out with PAP, and I'm not going to try to butcher pronouncing that. But this next one, it is currently tiny, but I want to say that is some type of a pendant anthurium. So those will get like beautiful long leaves that hang down. Again, can't quite make out that label, but yeah, those are gorgeous and velvety. Let's see, I'm gonna pick up one more here. They have just such striking veination on the leaves. Again, If you're wondering what some of these are, definitely feel free to pause the video and kind of zoom in on the tag. Doing the voiceover, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to read those tags on a smaller screen while I do the voiceover. These are some beautiful caladiums here, which I'm starting to see caladiums more often at plant stores. So I think they might be having kind of their moment right now. And I want to say I think these were all labeled as mixed caladium or assorted caladium. So I apologize, I do not know the names of the varieties of any of these. But they are really beautiful. It just so happens I really like colorful plants. So I do really like caladiums. I actually have 4 in my basement that I brought in from outside to overwinter. So I definitely don't think I'll be bringing home more caladiums anytime soon here. But I want to say they're probably similar to alocasias in their care. They can go dormant, especially if they get too dry or that sort of thing, or don't get enough light. But then hopefully if you put them outside in the spring, hopefully they will come back. So just a selection of colorful pots, planters here. I really like that purple, kind of light purple lilac colored one there. And then we're going to come around to the wall of pots, planters. Straight ahead there, those are kind of some Egyptian looking themed ones. And I think I had to maybe cut this right here because there was somebody coming up. So I'm just going to kind of pan. You can kind of see how large the store is there, a view across the store. And then we're going to start back into the Egyptian ones here with the terracotta color on the bottom. Some of those are kind of cool. I don't know if they necessarily fit my aesthetic, but kind of cool nonetheless, though. I really like this next section. These are more my color scheme for my house. And I absolutely love that one with the mushrooms on it on the top shelf and the second shelf down. I usually do non-draining catch pots, but I'd probably make an exception for that one just because it's such a cool planter. The next section here, again, we have some kind of more white and neutral colored ones. I feel like that yellow and white one goes more hand in hand with that Egyptian theme. It's got like a snake around it with like a big eyeball. Kind of matches those Egyptian ones. They have some merch up on top there. Those are the Lost in the Forest tumblers. And I have a pink one and a green one that I drink coffee from every day at work. And then these ones, that white one with the black through it with the feet, I do have one of those. I really like that planter. Kind of some more neutral colored ones here. I really love this kind of greenish bluish one here. It doesn't really fit my color scheme though, even though I really like that color. It's also kind of small. Like I was saying, a lot of my plants are getting to the point where they're in 6-inch or larger pots now. So that one wouldn't be super helpful to me at the moment. And then I had to show these rose crotons, or croton rose here. These are absolutely gorgeous. I'm probably going to pick up like almost every single one of these because the color and pattern on each one is unique. Like this one, you can see it's got more of the green color on the top there. But they have like pinks and oranges and reds in the leaves. And kind of various patterns. Each leaf is unique. So I believe those are philodendron variegated heteroecium on the top shelf there, the viney plants. And then we're just going to pick up this other croton rose here. That one's getting a little bit more green coloration on the top. I do think these need a good amount of light to really get the colorful leaves. And then you can see I was drinking coffee from my SpongeBob cup, and I set him on that shelf right there. That doesn't belong there. We have a little bonsai tree there, some more of those philodendrons, and then we're just going to look at some more of these croton rose. They're so beautiful. But these bottom two shelves, the vining plants there, those look like they are the philodendron micans outer variegated. I think this one might have been my favorite croton rose. There's a lot of orange in that top leaf and yellow, also the pink. I feel like if I were going to put a croton in my collection, it would need to be similar to how I treat my ficus, which is that I would keep it outside as much as possible and then just bring it down to my basement overwintering plant room when the weather is too cold. Just because those need a lot of sun, and I think they might be a little bit more picky about watering as well. I like my easy care plants that aren't super picky if they dry out a little bit, so... and I might have changed my mind. I think if I were going to get one of those crotons, it might be that one. That one has really pretty colors in it as well. There was a lady at the cash register to the left of me who was commenting on how pretty those crotons were as I was filming this. But yeah, I really like that display. And then we're hopping into a little selection that's just labeled as assorted foliage. I am going to pick up a couple of these, but I don't 100% know what the plant types are. I want to say this one could be like an aluminum plant, or that might just be the common name for that plant. I'm also going to pick up the more silvery one like that in the back here. And in my opinion, these look like they might be kind of thirstier plants or harder to care for. So they are beautiful, but I don't know that they would ever make their way into my plant collection. This one I think might be an asparagus fern, just a asparagus fern, just a little tiny baby one. But I thought the texture of that was really interesting with the really thin needle-like leaves. And then I do see some sort of a palm there. We have some peperomia ginny, I think, there with the pink in the leaves. Again, these are just all labeled as assorted foliage. This one is definitely a peperomia obtusifolia. Variegated little baby one. I did have one of those at one point, and unfortunately I did send it to Plant Heaven, so I do not currently have one of those anymore. The speckled plant here is actually some kind of a Dracaena. I always think that particular Dracaena really gives me a croton vibe. They really look like a croton to me, with the thinner leaves and the speckles of color. I kind of missed that tag. That tag might have actually been clear enough to read, but kind of missed that as that passed by. This next one I don't think I can pronounce the name of. I should show it in a moment here on the label. Trying to see. Yeah, I definitely can't make that out. I'm not sure what that plant is, but when I see those, I always wonder if that plant is related to Tradescantia. It really reminds me of Tradescantia. And then this next one has really beautiful dark leaves with a really cool pattern on them. We'll see if I can make out the label on this one. Yeah, look how beautiful the pattern on the leaves is. Let's see here. Some type of geonanthus, I believe, is what I'm seeing there. And then I'm going to show some really pretty Dieffenbachia, some large ones down on the floor here. There's also a little selection of planty books and different books on that display there. And of course I had to zoom in on my favorite Diefenbachia here, the leopard, I believe is the name. But look on that new leaf, how even that new leaf has all the little speckles on it. I just think that is so pretty. Really like that one. And then we're going to go into some more Rhaphidophora on the other side of that display here. Probably might be some names that I'm not sure how to pronounce or can't pronounce correctly, but I really like the shingling one here. I've always thought of getting one of those. I do not currently have one. I think that's like something with a W. Again, really hard to make out these labels as I go through doing this voiceover. But yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to get one of those shingling Rhaphidophora like that eventually. I always think that looks really cool when they're growing up a piece of wood like that. And then this one with the kind of palm-looking leaves here, I want to say is an Amedrium. I think I'm going to pan up and show... Yeah, Amedrium, okay. And then these ones on the end here, this is actually the Philodendron Billietiae dark form or Billietiae black. They're very similar looking to the regular one, just a darker green color. And I was kind of wishing I would have carried one of these over to the other Billietiae so I could hold them up together and see how different the coloration is, but these do definitely look a lot darker than the regular Billietiae. So some really large leaves on these ones, really pretty. I don't know that I'll ever get one of those just because I have kind of gone into my Aglaonema era. And then you can see across the store right there, I had to grab a quick pan of that while there were no people over in that section. So got some more cool pots or planters here. I really like those terrazzo ones. I don't see any of the larger terrazzo planters. I have one that's a 4-inch in the white colored terrazzo. I really like that planter. It's also really heavy, the terrazzo. And then we're headed into the Alocaceas here. I'm really hoping I can make out the labels on some of these. I know what a couple of them are. Just don't have a lot of those in my collection because they are a little bit more challenging to grow. And I can't really make that one out. It looks like a Bambino to me, but I think it was something else. A lot of them have kind of that similar veining to the leaves. This next one, probably everyone knows. This is the Alocasia Frydek variegated. It does have really beautiful variegation when it hardens off the leaves. They're extremely white colored. Really beautiful. Looks like there is an all white leaf back in there. And I guess I would say if I purchased an Alocasia, that might be the one. That's really beautiful. These ones on this side are Alocasia dragon scale. And when we get to the ones behind them, those are going to be the silver dragon. Those are also really beautiful. In fact, actually, I think I would probably purchase a silver dragon if I were going to purchase an Alocasia. I like that one even better than the variegated Frydek, I think. I just love the
I don't know. No.
silvery color on the leaves and the pattern on the leaves. They're just so textured. Really, really beautiful. Again, I think if I were to buy an Alocasia, it would have to be more of a outdoor plant that just overwinters indoors. Again, those can go dormant. I had one once, and it either went dormant or went to plant heaven, one or the other. And then I just never really purchased another alocasia again after that experience. So that was way back when I first started purchasing plants, and I didn't realize that those are kind of tricky to grow sometimes. So I'm really hoping I got the tag on this one. I cannot think of what those are called. Yeah, I couldn't really make out the tag there. Some other type of variegated alocasia there. More of those beautiful Friedeck leaves. They're just so like snow white colored, the variegation. And then closer up of the silver dragon. Again, I think I like that even better than the variegated Friedeck. Those leaves are just so textured. These ones with the kind of funny shaped leaves here are Alocasia Teletubbies. And then, let's see. I got a little bit distracted there. I was trying to make out what that next one over is going to be called. But I didn't know what those were, and then I saw what the name was, and I was like, oh, I got to pan in closer on the ones that are named Teletubbies because that's kind of funny. And then there's this beautiful variegated one here with like the longer leaves, and you'll see in a second here, I wasn't able to make out what the label said on that one. This one that I picked up first here just happened that looked like the label got wet, and you couldn't really make out what it says. And then I looked later on, and of course I can't go back to my photo gallery right now to see what that one was called, but I do know this one with the veins here, that is Alocasia poly. But just kind of panning back over the alocasias there. They do look really pretty all grouped together like that. And then you can kind of see over to one of the back corners of the store there in that view. And then we have some beautiful getting larger leaves, Monstera deliciosa here. You can see that one already has the fenestrations. So if I were in the market for one of those, I would definitely pick that one. And then we're gonna go over into another table with some more philodendrons. This is the philodendron tortum. I love the way those leaves kind of remind me of like palm leaves. This next one is the Philodendron Florida Bronze. You can kind of see it gets these beautiful bronze colored leaves on the newer leaves, especially that one that's sticking straight up there. I believe, if I'm correct, that is a hybrid between the Florida Green and the Philodendron Macaulay's Finale. And then we're just kind of panning across some Philodendron Ring of Fire here with the yellow variegations. And then this is one of my favorites. This is a Philodendron Martianum, but it is much more commonly called Philodendron Fat Boy. And you'll see why in just a second here, why they call it that, because look at those fat leaf petioles. Like the petioles on this thing are nearly as wide as the leaves in some spots. So it's just very cool looking how it's got the really thick leaf petioles. Must have a lot of water stored in those petioles. And then there was one little lonely Philodendron Birkin kind of hiding between these two different types of plants here. You can see him just kind of peeking out right there. We got some more of those beautiful Dieffenbachia on the floor right there, with the spots, and then just another little display with some more pottery here and some vases on the top there. And then we'll come back through the top of the philodendron here. I think that's a Philodendron Pluto with the big leaves, and then that's a Philodendron UPI with the really funky shaped leaf, kind of almost fish-shaped leaf. We got some more big Ring of Fires up there. And then on this end with the reddish coloration in the leaves, that is the Philodendron Macaulay's Finale. There's a fresh leaf and back in there you can see is like super red on that one. Really beautiful. And then we have some philodendron painted lady on the bottom here. I love the yellow variegation on the newer leaves on those, is really pretty. And then next to it we have another philodendron Pluto. I want to say I also hear that one called Choco Empress. I think that might be like an older name for that philodendron. And then these are some beautiful philodendron gloriosum here. They have bright veination, velvety leaves. And unfortunately, that particular philodendron really doesn't like living in my house. Probably because of the velvety leaves. It wants more humidity. And then this one's a really cool one. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this. I think it's philodendron ricardioi, something along those lines. But I love the red leaf edges and kind of how the green has the streaks of different colors of green through it. Very heart-shaped leaf. In just a moment here, I think I'm going to show the tag. And again, I don't know, ricardioi is my best attempt at how that might be pronounced. But I always kind of wanted one of those. I just never have added that one to my collection, at least thus far. I did notice they have come down in price a little over the past year. And then these big guys on the floor, I cannot remember what those are. Again, I do have a photo in my phone, but these two tables right here, these are a bunch of different Codex plants. Kind of same story with these. I did take some photos of the tags, but obviously while I'm doing this voiceover, I cannot go back and look at those. So I probably should have wrote those down before I started making my voiceover here, but that's kind of succulent and cactus area that we're panning over right there. Those hanging plants are the string of hearts. And then we had a display with a bunch of different types of ficus right here. Some lucky bamboo, which is actually a type of dracaena. And then those flowering plants are kalanchoe. I believe those are rickrack cactus right there in the hanging planters. Hopefully I got some tags in this section. These are a type of bromeliad here, I believe. And I don't know that I ended up zooming in on the tag for that one. And then on the far right there, there's just some of the bromeliad that you're probably more familiar with. Kind of the star shape with the colored center and the stripes on the leaves. And then I actually thought that this one was dragon fruit, but it's not. It looks very similar, and I couldn't quite make out the tag there. Some type of cactus, but definitely not what I thought it was, though. And then we have the rickrack cactus there again. Bromeliads. Ooh. Name? Question mark, maybe? Yeah, I can't quite make that out. It looks like that tag got wet at some point from watering, so it's kind of faded. We do have some beautiful flowering orchids on the other side here. A little bit closer look, I kind of panned over those earlier. And then we have African violets there. String of rubies, I believe those succulents are called. And then we have the Tradescantia pink panther with the tiny little pink leaves or purple leaves. I did used to have that one, and I did send it to Plant Heaven. They seem a little bit more picky on watering than other Tradescantia. I want to say they like to dry out a little bit more than other Tradescantia varieties, but I always think those are cute when I see them. Here's a close-up. There's the cash register straight ahead. And then the section in front of that, they have a bunch of different gifty items. Probably some cash pots mixed in there, but you can see all sorts of different kitchen things and This giant fern, I think that is an Australian tree fern. I think it's pretty, but it definitely will not be coming home with me. I am not great at taking care of ferns. We've got some books here, looks like coloring books, kitchen towels with different prints on them. And then right in front of the cash register here, we have this gorgeous philodendron ring of fire. Looks like a ficus taniki on the shelf to the right of that one. And then we'll just kind of catch the little gifty items up on the cash register here. I'm trying to remember what this philodendron is called. I'm hoping that I'm about to show the tag here. And I almost want to say I think it might be caramel marble mint form, maybe. Let's see if we can read this. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think it's golden crocodile mint, variegated possibly. So it's one of those, those toothy philodendrons with the long leaves, in that philodendron branch of the family. I love their neon light behind the cash register with their logo. We have gift cards, some air plants. That's Aglaonema Maria Christina, a couple big 10-inch pots of that right there. See some resurrection ferns in that container down there. There's a terrarium, little plant stakes, and then we have this gorgeous philodendron here. I believe this one is Whippleway Mint, and it's a lot more green than your traditional Whippleway. Like I think of Whippleway and I think of those new leaves on that being almost like pure white with green speckles, but you can see that the mint version has a lot more green, and it has that very minty pattern to the variegation. Very beautiful. And then we're hopping back into those Codex plants. Those ones on the right there remind me of like an ivy, the shape of the leaves. I think on the right on this one, I believe those are string of frogs. I've never tried those, but they just look like they would be a difficult plant to care for. They look like they're probably picky about watering, so it's not a good match for me. We have another beautiful variegated ficus here. And then we're going to jump into the table with all the synapsis on it next here. I don't think I caught the names on all of these. Those ones with the silver edging, I feel like they could be Silver Lady. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. I think I'm going to pan back to the right here and look at the one with the really large leaves. That reminds me of the leaves of the Syndapsis exotica. It has those really big leaves like that. And I want to say this one is called Mount something. Like Mount Salek, I think. But yeah, I think that one is really beautiful. I like the Syndapsis with the large leaves. It's just something about those big leaves that I like. And then I'm hoping I maybe caught the tag on that one. We might have kind of skipped those. I didn't notice those cool variegated ones with the really bright variegation. I kind of skipped over those because I really wanted to show the Syndapsis officinalis here. It's really different for a Syndapsis. It has more of like a streaked pattern versus the patchy pattern. So I think those are kind of rare as far as Syndapsis go. I've only seen those at a couple different stores, but they have them a lot at Lost in the Forest. And then I think these top plants are going to be some of the Epipremnum pinnatum elbow, I believe. That's actually their plant of the week, so those are on sale this week. So it looked like a lot of those on the other side of that shelf were sold. And then we have some of that Amplissimum on the top there with the really silvery leaves, that type of pothos. And then right below that is some really silvery Syndapsis. This one is the Platinum Java, and I used to have this in my collection. Look how long this one is, like long and big leaves. That one's really pretty that I picked up. So I did used to have one of those. It was a clearance one from a big box store, and it did end up going to Plant Heaven. I had taken some cuttings of it, and then the cuttings just didn't want to root, and I actually just recently finally just dumped them out and kind of gave up on that. But definitely one that I wouldn't mind having in my collection again someday. I do like the very silvery leaves on that. And then, so I actually want to say these ones here might have been labeled as Silver Lady. So I could have been wrong about those ones with the silver edging on the other side. Of course, I can't quite make that out. Once again, if you're wondering about any of the names, I should have the tags for most of them. You may just need to kind of pause the video and zoom in to read it. But yeah, I want to say they might have been calling these ones Silver Lady, so not actually sure what the ones on the other corner there were then, because I thought those were Silver Lady. But this one has some really cool leaf patterning, and I'm pretty certain I'm not going to be able to make out the tag. Do not remember exactly what that one was. That might be one of the newer varieties of Syndapsis. But yeah, really cool bold patterns on that one. And kind of cool patterning on this one as well. How the silver's kind of more condensed versus just everywhere on the leaf. Again, can't quite make that tag out, but that one's a pretty cool looking one. I think that might be the same as the one on the pole there behind it. I think these might just be some more of those Epipremnum pinnatum variegated there. And then this is kind of my favorite Syndapsis on the corner, and it's because of these huge leaves. This is the Syndapsis exotica. I do have that one in my collection. I have like a big 6-inch pot that I got at Lost in the Forest last fall. These also get really sparkly leaves. Like that variegation is inside of the leaf. It's blister variegation. And I think that's why when the light hits it, it just looks like three-dimensional. It looks super sparkly. And that's what I really love about Syndapsis. Just how sparkly their silver areas are. So there you can see the Plant of the Week sign, and it looks like everyone kind of purchased up that whole shelf up there. But this next one is Syndapsis Java Platinum. Another fully silver leafed one, and I actually think I like these even better than the those Silver Hero or whatever they were on the other side there. These are almost even more silvery colored, which I really like. That's Syndapsis Moonlight is this next one here. And then I think these ones are more of those Mount something that were on the other side there. And definitely can't make out that label, but it's kind of funny that I made this walkthrough video and I thought I was going to be able to make out all these labels as I did my voiceover, but didn't quite work out that way. And then we're going to kind of pan over the succulent and cacti area here. Make a little stop at this table of begonias. I think on the right, those are a strawberry begonia of some type. Which actually are not truly a begonia. I'm not sure what plant family those are in, but they're not really a begonia, even though they're called strawberry begonia. And then we have these pretty jewel orchids here. I love the stripes on those. Some other random begonias. That one has a bunch of cute little flowers. And then the speckled ones there, those would be a begonia immaculata. And then I think we're going to take, there's a sago palm on the ground there. And then we're going to take a close look at these string of hearts. Some of these were blooming, and I don't know if I've ever actually seen that in person before, so I just wanted to kind of get a close-up of these. They're very hard to focus on because they're so thin and trailing, but there you can see the bloom on that one. That was kind of neat. Again, those are kind of hard to focus on. As soon as I start moving, it just wants to blur again. Underneath those is a string of watermelon. I don't think until this point in time I had ever seen those in person. They're very interesting looking. I don't really do string of plants. I just don't have great luck keeping them alive. They want to go to plant heaven. There's a variegated string of hearts there. Those are really pretty. I've tried growing string of pearls, I think 3 times, and it just does not want to live in my house. So I thought these baskets were cool, how they were the long string of hearts, and they're just all kind of twirled back up around the pot there. More of the variegated ones here. And then I didn't go closer, but I think on the back of this table, those might have been the string of pearls there. It was definitely some sort of string of plant. There's another one of those big, beautiful philodendron ring of fire. Another little display of pottery in the corner here. And then they have some large cactus in the window. I think that is a Ficus Audrey, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of big, kind of tall one, living in the window with the succulents and cactus here. Another big ficus down the other way there too. I think that's like a bunny ear cactus, the one in the corner. And then I did have to get a close-up. These pots on the top here are perfect for any plant lover. It says just one more. And I feel like we all know how that goes. So then we're going to take a closer look at some of the cactus and succulents here. I didn't necessarily get the labels on everything here. I think that might be an old man cactus, the really furry one there. And then this one I was trying to look at the label on, and it stabbed me. I want to say these might have been labeled as pencil cactus. But yeah, I went to go try to pick up one of those pots just from the way out at the edge of the pot, and the plant still stabbed me, so I did not pick it up then. It's a very stabby type of cactus, very prickly. These next ones, you already know what these are, and I'm not going to say this. I'm just not going to say this. You know what those are. They're named after a male appendage. Let's just say that. And then we've got some really tall cacti there. So a lot of these may have just been labeled as like assorted cacti, and I'm not really sure what they are. Those light colored ones, I believe those are the Euphorbia white ghost. I always think those are really pretty. I like them when they get bigger though. They just had these little baby ones. These ones are really cool. They're very geometric shaped. Looks like one of those was about to bloom as well. And then we have the female appendage cactus. Again, you already know, but yes, that is a booby cactus there. I do have one of those in my collection as well. And then this next one, I don't know if I could make out the name completely or pronounce it. Oh, that Elvira wanted to hitchhike and come along with. But yeah, I had to look at the label to figure out that it was a euphorbia. It's really unusual how it has the kind of almost like a caudix or like a exposed root on the bottom. But then the top part of it almost looks like it'd be more of a trailing type of succulent. It's giving you that bonsai feeling with that big chunky root on the bottom there. And then we got some aloe vera there. Little baby ones. I had to fix that one. It was stuck to the euphorbia. And then we have this really peachy colored cryptanthus here. I will show the label. I don't know if I can quite make it out. We'll see when I pick it up here, but I've never tried growing one of those, but I do think they're extremely beautiful. I like that peach coloration on that. And I know the word peach was part of the name of it. Again, I couldn't kind of make that out as I'm doing the voiceover here, but I didn't look at the tag on those. I think those are like a Kalanchoe flapjacks or flapjacks, something like that. And then we just kind of start getting into mixed succulents down at the end here. I think this one I picked up might be a mother of thousands or mother of millions, whatever you call those, because it had these little growths on the end of the leaves. But you'll see in a second here, I can't quite make out the label. Uh-oh. All right, plant buddies. It looks like we have a double cliffhanger. Not only could I not read the label on that last plant because the water had washed it away, but I realized that I had over 2 hours of Lost in the Forest footage. So we may never know the name of that plant, but you can always come back next Saturday at 5 p.m. Central for the conclusion of the Lost in the Forest tour. We do still need to go through the rest of the store and then also the cabinets of rare plants, so you don't want to miss this. Also just wanted to say, if you could, please give me a like, a follow, subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram at planty_buds. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the Lost in the Forest tour, and I'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye.